She famously did 2020. We'll talk about Barbara Walters in a second. Actually,
Yeah,
I think this would be.
I'd love to know some more.
I mean, she's like good and bad. You know what I mean? She has
Totally.
like really good interviews. Like she's known as like a contentious interviewer who like gets in your fucking face and will like, especially when talking to people in positions of power, that is like seen as a valuable quality. Obviously, something that you rarely ever see with like modern day journalists because they're more interested in access journalism. Right. However, she also kind of did that against like victims of like Hollywood predation and shit like that too. It's like weird.
Them being like, "Are you?"
Yeah.
That's kind of whack.
Yeah. She famously asked the hard questions, but like also was kind of mean to people.
Sounds like not really my style. I kind of ask the light questions.
Yeah.
Allow people to reveal themselves. Sounds like Barbara Walters is on the opposite end of the journalistic spectrum in terms of questioning style.
Yeah, but there is a space for that, especially when you like.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Especially when you are talking to like billionaires and shit. Like she literally would just rip into people like.
I just saw someone in the chat say Barbara Walters could never do the Yeet interview.
That's true.
As if that is the highest standard of journalistic integrity.
It 100% is. What are you talking about? Your Yeet interview is the highest standard.
Yeah. He's a fascinating character, huh?
Yeah. Barbara Walters would never get the Yeet inside scoop. He would never be able to get Yeet to like also FaceTime fans.
She would never get Rolling Loud VIP press passes, dude.
That's true. Exactly. She would not be able to talk to the perked up shouties. Okay.
Perked up shouties.
Her interview with Mother. Okay, we'll do Barbara Walters in a second. Okay, so Barbara Walters had like a really interesting background, really interesting career, I would say. She just passed away yesterday. She was a very contentious interviewer who I think is like a dying breed, especially in mainstream media, unfortunately.
Was she epic?
She had some good dunks. She had some good moments, but also some very bad ones. And I'm going to show you the good ones, and then I'm going to show you the bad ones. So this is Aisha Siddiqui, who posted about Barbara. I think this is very informative. She says, I don't care to lionize Barbara, but seeing this is a reminder that there aren't many journalists in the American mainstream who'd speak this way to someone this close to their face. Instead, we have self-aggrandizing and subject laundering access journalism of like Maggie Haberman, the Newsy lady and the like.
Let's check it out.
So here is a highlight from her career for sure.
Well, the new book is entitled Surviving at the Top. There are many people who would say failing at the top.
I hope the general public understands how inherently dishonest the press in this country is.
As a member of the press, let me try to clear up some of the things which you say are untrue. You write in your book, my bankers and I worked out a terrific deal that allows me to come out stronger than ever. I see the deal as a great victory, and eventually the rest of the world will too. Being on the verge of bankruptcy, being bailed out by the banks,
Well, you don't have to say on the verge of
skating on
bankruptcy.
thin ice and almost drowning, that's a businessman to be admired.
Last
you
and
say
save,
on the
thank you
verge
for the
of
5
bankruptcy,
gifted.
Barbara, and you talk on the verge, and you listen to what people are
I
saying.
talk to your bankers.
Well, that's fine. And what do they say? I mean, depending on which banker you're talking to,
Several.
what do they say? I'm the only one people write about. I mean, they don't write about other people.
You have a little more debt than most people, just something like $3 billion
I
in
also
debt.
have a little more assets than most people.
Okay, you have debts to pay back.
Right.
You have huge loans to pay back. You say the country is in a depression. What makes you think that you can pay back those loans? And further, what your bankers have told us is that the only way you even have a chance is by selling that property out there totally, the plaza.
Well, I don't know what the bankers have said. The plaza's a very valuable property. Everybody told me, oh, you paid too much, you paid too much. Now they're all saying, what a great deal he made
No,
on the
they're not.
plaza.
You yourself
No, they're not.
Yeah,
said that
I get it. She definitely
you
has a
saw your
purpose.
children maybe once a week.
It's not really my style, but she's very clearly good at what she does, which is like calling.
Yeah,
people on their
she's
bullshit.
she's very cutting. She does her research ahead of time,
Yes.
and she's quick with the retorts, which is good.
Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say rest in power.
No. I'll show you some bad shit.
You're
that she
having a
used to
lot
do
of
as well,
difficulties
though.
with your 12-year-old son, Donna. You haven't talked to him since May.
Oh, that's
Do you
a low
believe in
blow.
fidelity?
No,
marriage?
not this. This one's fine.
Yes, absolutely.
She did. I don't care about her cutting into Trump about like Don Jr. who fucking.
has come closer.
Oh, she interviewed Fidel Castro.
Yeah, like she's done some good shit, but I do find it funny that she ripped into Trump for his like shitty shitty experiences or shitty relationship with his son.
I do.
In the current issue of Vanity Fair, the author Marie Brenner says that you read from Hitler's collected speeches, My New Order, and that these are speeches that you seem to admire. What's your reaction? Do you have this book?
A friend of mine sent me a book. A man who I think is Jewish, although I don't know.
Although I don't know. So that was fine. Here's another good one. Like if she was good at being an asshole. Yeah. So if she was going up against fucking assholes,
Sean Connery is like kind of bad man.
Yeah. Loves beating women and stuff, right? Like was an Olympic wife beater, basically.
Oh, he has like quotes about it. Being like,
yeah.
That's like
Years ago you did an interview which may come back to haunt you. You know what I'm going to say, right?
No.
Okay. You did an interview in which you said
I just want to point something out here. We don't have this anymore.
Bald people?
I feel like in Hollywood there was a point in time when you had like dudes who would just like openly rock this, you know what I mean? Now you got like Woody Harrelson, that's like one of the few, you know what I mean?
Vin Diesel.
No, but like he went full. No, he went full cut. I'm saying like there's a very specific type of fucking bald that just like kept the side and the back, you know what I mean? Which was such a weird look. I always thought it was a very weird look to just like keep the hair, the remainder hair on like the sides and the horseshoe. And I don't know. I feel like motherfuckers don't rock the horseshoe in like in these settings any longer. The cul-de-sac. Yeah, I like that.
the worst thing to slap a woman now and then. As I remember, you said you don't do it with a clenched fist. It's better to do it with an open hand.
Yeah, he gave like tips on how to beat your significant other, which is crazy.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I didn't love that.
I haven't changed my opinion.
You haven't?
No.
No. You think it's good to slap a woman?
No, I don't think it's good. I
think it's bad?
I don't think it's that bad. I think that it depends entirely on the circumstances and if it merits it. Yeah.
The circumstances.
Well, if you have tried everything else, and women are pretty good at this, they can't leave it alone. They don't want to have the last word, and you give them the last word, but they're not happy with the last word. They want to say it again and get into a really provocative situation. Then I think it's absolutely right.
Like, he didn't just say, like, circumstances need to be dealt with. He's just like, no, it's fucking sick. You should do it.
It's the first top G.
Yeah, he's the, I mean, back in the day, they don't make men like this anymore. You know what I mean?
Dudes beat their wife, yeah.
Yeah, dudes who openly fucking.
Society's fucking changing.
Yeah, they openly celebrate beating their wives.
When they want
Good
to stop
slap.
talking.
Yeah, absolutely.
What if she gives you a good slap back?
Well, then you get into another area. I mean, then maybe she's getting to like it, and then it becomes something else. I don't know. But seriously, I think that it's the last resort. He's not going to do it because he wants to do it.
Wait till people see this interview. You're going to get mail.
Oh, shit. She told him like that.
Yeah.
That dude's a fucking loser, man.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like. I can't speak to the validity of the site, but I was curious. Found it Libra Stellium. Okay, anyway. This was part of why I said don't lionize her. Where does this site get people's... Oh, yeah, people probably fucking yelled at this person, so they deleted the tweet, which sucks. But, yeah, no, she was definitely, like, kind of weird. This is, like... Here, this is not a great... This is definitely not a great interview for Barbara, where she, like, keeps up this, like, contentious attitude... Right? Aisha Esquire, thank you for the 5 get the subs. She keeps up this contentious attitude in fucking interviews where she's like talking to victims and shit. You know what I mean? Which is like not great. Anyway.
I'm saying that there are people that
is Nick Offerman.
were the people that did this to both me and Corey that are still working. They're still out there, and they're some of the richest, most powerful people in this business.
And they are
And they do not want me saying what I'm saying right now.
Are you saying that they're pedophiles?
Yes.
And that they're still in this business?
Yes.
That's what. Yeah, and that's what you were saying in your book. When you talk to when you talk to
and
parents,
they don't want me here right now. Trust
Corey,
me. They want me dead.
there are a lot of parents out here
Is that
who
Ron
want to put their
Swanson?
kids in this.
What
Yeah.
the fuck is going on there?
This is The View, baby. This is Nick
What?
Offerman in the flesh.
Why is he in such a serious interview?
Well, I don't know, actually.
what
I don't know
in the
why he's
fuck?
there. That is weird,
That is
though.
the worst guy for this situation right now.
But maybe he was just like, I don't know. Maybe
Did he
he
used to
wasn't.
have serious conversations about stuff like this?
I have no
in this
idea. I
outfit?
don't know why he's in the fucking Corey Feldman interview.
Holy
I don't know.
shit. All right.
business. Their kids are cute. They're great actors. Da, da, da. What would you say to a parent who just has the best of intentions, who's coming here with their child? If you're saying that there's a lot of predators in this industry.
They're like, they're riding for Hollywood.
They're protecting the industry.
And she's like Barbara Walters did this to like Drew Barrymore as well, like weirdly, but like was like weirdly reinforcing some of the awful things that Hollywood has done to her in interviews as well. Like
It's a
she's just done-
many-feathered bird. Okay? Be careful what you wish for. That's what I'll tell you. You know, don't go into it with naivety. Don't go into it thinking that it's all roses and
You're
sunglasses and
damaging an entire industry.
I'm sorry.
I wanna
I'm
clear
not
up.
trying
You said
to.
that-
I'm just trying to say that it's a very important, serious topic.
You said that there was one gentleman in the industry who did not take advantage of you. He was not a pedophile. You said it was
And
Michael
his name
Jackson.
was Ron Swanson.
No, his name is Michael Jackson. She says.
I'm saying-
Yeah, he's like he
Dude,
rides
yeah,
for Michael
okay,
Jackson.
Barbara Walters has had some good and bad moments here, clearly.
Okay, last one
one should
before you
die.
leave. Last one before you leave. Norm Macdonald's Barbara Walters joke. I don't know what this is. but-
Barbara Walters is planning to announce her retirement. What's next for Babs? Death.
The old Norm Macdonald is.
I mean, he was right.
Rest in peace to P22.
Yeah, he was right. Norm Macdonald also, shouts out to Norm. He too also died, for those of you who don't know. Anyway, okay. All right. Well, I don't want to keep you any longer. Thank you so much for coming, Andrew. This was wonderful. This was a fucking awesome experience to have you back on the show.
Fuck yeah, man. Always a pleasure.
And you're in LA for a while, right? We'll hang out.
Going to El Paso soon.
Oh, okay. Never mind. We won't hang out
Oh, we'll hang out.
before you leave. All right. Well, hopefully everybody gets to watch it. Anything you want to promote, go ahead.
Yeah, just go to HBO Max and watch This Place Rules and tell me what you guys think.
And patreon.com/channel5.
Yeah, join Patreon if you guys want to.
Yeah.
Patreon, optional. This Place Rules, I would highly recommend that you watch it because I worked on it for 2 years and it's my first movie. It's my directorial debut.
Hell yeah. And it was a wonderful one. Yeah, Brace made a cameo. Not the boy, which is fine. Not the kid. I did not make a cameo in the documentary.
The kid will make a cameo
In the
next
second one,
documentary.
hopefully.
You can be in Kelly J. Patriot.
In the what? You're doing that?
Do you want to be in Kelly J. Patriot?
Sure. I mean, I've hung out with him.
Cool. We can talk about homes being stolen and such. No one even knows that how good the Kelly J. Patriot documentary is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who's hung out with him, I can sense that it will be very good,
dude. Because okay, before I go, I love This Place Rules, but the scope was so massive. I'm making a movie about a huge event, January 6th, that has so much to it that couldn't make the cut, and obviously different angles that weren't in my narrative because it was just my perspective on it. The Kelly J. Patriot movie is like full coverage of like a family, and I'm just excited about it. But I'm really excited about This Place Rules too.
Yeah,
go watch it if you want to, but you fucking should because it's good. I think.
Yeah, it is really good. We're gonna hype it up so that they give you more money and you make more cool documentaries. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, man.
Appreciate it.
All right. Yeah. Okay, folks, I'm just going to say bye to Andrew, and we are going to move on. We're going to do more Barbara Walters coverage, wall-to-wall Barbara today, okay? Here is Barbara talking to Fidel Castro while I go see Peace to Andrew, and also heat up my chicken real quick. Tomoguki, thank you for the 521 gift
Fidel
subs.
Castro, then our very own Barbara Walters. She interviewed the Cuban dictator twice in her career.
Cuban
I
dictator.
sat down with her to talk about her times with Castro and what it took to get that first iconic interview. 1977.
Yeah.
You sit down, the first American journalist to sit down with Fidel Castro.
She had a beautiful female translator named Juanita who was with him at all times. And he talked and talked and talked.
For hours, this interview?
For hours.
This was the get of all gets, right? One of the most important figures on earth to talk to. How'd you get it?
I had gone to Cuba when I was working for another network and met him very briefly. I went with a whole bunch of reporters and said to him then, would you do an interview? It took us many years to actually get it. For a man who likes to talk, he does very few interviews. When he finally sat down, it was, for me, memorable, and to a large degree because we crossed the Bay of Pigs together. Is it true that we are the first Americans to cross the Bay of Pigs in 16 years?
As I remember, it's the first time.
What was your sense of the man?
Your feeling is that he's much bigger than he actually is, that he's a big bear of a man. He was always in uniform. I shouldn't say always. The last time I saw him, he was not. He was wearing a business suit. And to me, he was almost unrecognizable because he loved walking around in his khaki uniform. He was funny. The crew loved him. We traveled throughout the country, throughout the Sierra Maestra Mountains, where he had been a guerrilla when he was trying to take over from Batista, trying to get rid of Batista, who was a dictator. And the word charismatic was made for him. You would have liked him, I would have liked him, then you had to stop and say, just a minute. Yes. You know, this is a man who does not believe in freedom of the press, he told me, does not believe in democracy as we know democracy, had political prisoners, but when you were with him, he was forceful, charming, forthcoming.
How did you balance that notion that certainly charming, but knowing what he was capable of, knowing this is a man, as you know, despised, certainly by generations of Cuban Americans in this country, despised quietly in corners of his own country?
When I came home, by the way, I knew he was despised, but I realized when I got threatening letters myself, and for a very short time had bodyguard for my family because there was such, and probably still is, such anger towards him. You know, when you do an interview, you have to you're in that position, whether it's Fidel Castro or, I don't know, Yasser Arafat or Vladimir Putin. You're not, when you're in it, you're not there to judge. You're there to get your questions answered, and the way to do it, for me, is to counter it, attack maybe, but not to challenge. This is not a why did you, how come? You know, I didn't do that. When will your country and my country have normal relations?
Su país y el mío tendrán relaciones normales.
Pienso que depende de la buena voluntad de ambas
I believe
partes.
that depends on the goodwill of both parts.
Y pienso que depende también
And I believe that it also depends on time.
I understand that you have a note in Spanish on your wall at home from Fidel Castro from May 20th, 1977 at 1:29 a.m. in the morning. And it says, for Barbara, as a remembrance of the most difficult interview that I've had in all the days of my life. Why was it so difficult?
Yes, it was endless. And because I was able to ask him questions. He did so few interviews that very few people had.
F smash W Riz, stop.
I was able to ask about his feelings about democracy, which, as I noted, he does not see it as we do. But I also asked him personal questions, which he doesn't like and doesn't usually respond to. I don't know that much about him. I asked if he was married. I kept pushing it, and he kept saying, "Why do you want to know?" And I said, "No, people want to know."
¿Qué importancia?
Okay, no una respuesta. What is the importance of my being married or not? And who cares whether I'm married or not?
And he finally said what we translated to be formally, no. We hear he has something like 5 children. We hear he has triplets as grandchildren. But as a person, we know very little about him.
I understand that that day with him, you went to several locations.
Well, what we did mostly was travel through the mountains, through the Sierra Maestra Mountains with him as he drove his own Jeep. I sat next to him with his gun in my lap. Why do they?
He was goated, for people in the chat asking. Like, yes, he was fucking cool. I mean, of course, you know, as every person, he also made mistakes, bad moments, things that he actually atoned for, which liberals constantly fucking want to hold him accountable for or whatever. But, you know, he was, he did, you got to look at the overarching product, okay? Like people that equate Castro to like Stalin or whatever are fucking delusional. I will just say that. Like they're delusional and wrong, and you know they just fucking hate socialism. That's it, or whatever they consider to be like socialist or even like anti-America in general. Pro-dictatorship is always where I get off with you. I mean, if you think that this is like a pro-dictatorship position, you fundamentally misunderstand what I talk about with respect to like systems of power and systems of governance and how we currently live under a fairly one-party fucking system that is ultimately just offering you a false choice. As though there is a real, genuine, legitimate fucking difference between the two parties as it pertains to drastically changing the material conditions for those who are living in the global south that are victims of American foreign policy, or even domestically poor people living in horrifying conditions that you would consider developing nation conditions. It just doesn't change anything. You just watched me talk to Andrew about how neither party gives a fuck about the poor, okay? And in many respects, that in and of itself is no different than having a one-party system. A one-party system that democratically changes its constitution, that has a very unique take on the democratic approach with respect to like how they do local elections and whatnot. Yeah. One great example is that Fidel Castro publicly apologized on national TV for the government's treatment of LGBTQ people in the early days of the revolution, that made an active effort to reform LGBTQ rights for the better. And now, recently, this past fucking year, the Cuban Constitution basically fucking protects now, officially, LGBTQ values as a fundamental part of, like, family values. So, like, they're literally to the left of the United States of America on that issue. 1,000,000%. That's not even a fucking joke. What the fuck is Hasan doing with this false equivalency bullshit? This is why people vote Trump, idiot. Wait, what? Shut up. I don't want to hear. This is the New Year's, okay? After he fucking died. Yeah, I know after he fucking died. You think that there's no impact of his like starting point? And also, one of the things that I personally look at is the conditions prior to revolutionary Cuba. And the conditions prior are far, far, far worse. Even if you look at it from like the human toll, the death toll, far worse. Anyway, I don't want to hear from fucking shitty libs doing like virtue signaling bullshit on New Year's Eve. You know what I mean? This is a day of celebration. We're keeping that in the past.
Why am I asking that now? And hard candies, because he would stop along the way to children and he would give them hard candies. He did not like the personification. There are no pictures of Castro as you go along the way. You know, it's not, there are not the way it is, for example, when I went to Beijing and you saw pictures of Mao. I'm going back a few years.
Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein. You do not see this. He does not, he did not want it to be one man, but obviously everybody knew who he was.
Is that modesty? Because the perception of him is big ego.
I think it was part of the whole business about this is for the country, this is not the man. But, you know, he just, I never said to him, how come there are no pictures, but it was not in his personality.
So you do this long interview with Fidel Castro, and I read where he wanted to be paid?
No, this was, when we finished this endless thing, he said, okay, you should pay me. I said, why should we pay you? He said, because I produced this. He negotiated with the Cuban television to do this interview. At first, they wanted a great deal of money. Castro himself brought them down to size and stuff. So he said, you should pay me. We said, we're not going to pay you as a producer. He said, well, then you should pay me, you know, as an interviewer. I said, you're not that good. I mean, you could do this with him, you know. And
respect, bro. My man is workers' rights all the way, motherfucker. He was like, what do you mean? That's my labor. It's like chatters coming in here and being like, pay me for chatting. Shut the fuck up!
Finally, we said, well, we'll pay you as a driver. And we gave him $5 and we all signed it. It was a strange trip because there was this good humor. And afterwards, he took us inside and made us grilled cheese sandwiches. And by the way, the next time I saw him, which was here in this country when he was visiting, he grilled lobsters for us. So, I mean, there was this strange kind of, you know, good-natured, and yet we have to say to ourselves, this was a man who was our enemy up until, you know, this minute. And that's strange.
Was he, though?
Usually it's much more.
Was he, though? Because if he's your enemy, then I think that says more about you in a negative capacity than it does about him. This is a fundamental point that I hope chatters understand. The reason why Fidel Castro and Che Guevara were enemies of the state, okay, to the United States of America is because America's ally was maintaining sugar plantations and slavery inside of Cuba under a significantly more brutal and actual oppressive dictatorship. America also funded this dictator, this actual dictator, for many, many years, okay? Gave him arms when the Cuban Revolution was happening, and also immediately fucking put these inhumane, awful, unjustifiable sanctions on Cuba after that dictator was overthrown. Remember that when thinking about who's our ally and who's our enemy and why they are our enemy.
As you know, much more cut and dried.
As you pushed him, and we know you pushed him, did you see some of that edge, some of the darker side of Fidel Castro?
You do when you talk to him about freedom of the press. You do when you talk to him about democracy, and his eyes narrow, and he said, my idea of democracy is not yours. And, you know, you cannot insult socialism. You cannot take apart our system.
If you ask us if a paper could appear here against socialism, I could say honestly, no, it cannot appear.
You see the toughness of the man. We were not allowed to see political prisoners, and he would turn the tables and talk about our own discrimination, and then you got into a whole other discussion.
You talked to him, interviewed him a second.
So as far as like Cuba's position on political prisoners or Cuba's position on freedom of the press, I agree. I think it's unjustifiable. But the reason, but the way I would try to reason with you on this, God, please stop talking about anything south of Texas. You sound like an ignorant asshole. No, I don't sound like an ignorant asshole. I sound like someone who's not like your fucking reactionary parents who have you know, told you a very different story about how the global South fucking operates because they're in America. You're in America. Shut the fuck up. I fucking hate this conversation specifically because every time we have this conversation, you resort to like the classic, you know, you're just anti-America. You don't know anything you're talking about. My fucking great-grandfather told me everything that was going on. Shut the fuck up. Like, there's a reason why the global South looks the way it does. You think Latin American countries are fucking in a great state right now? How did that happen? Why did that happen? What was America's involvement? Shut the fuck up. Take some goddamn accountability.
You could look at any existing socialist country. If you don't want to call them socialist, call them whatever you want. Post-capitalist, whatever. I don't care. Call it.
I don't recognize this video, even though this is Azure Scapegoat, who is a subscriber and in here all the time, because it doesn't have a classic yellow tint. So although the video and the sounds seem familiar to me, unfortunately I don't see the yellow tint. So I don't know if this is authentic Parenti or not. This is such a funny
camels, window shades. Doesn't matter. As long as we know the countries we're talking about. You can look at...
Castro literally wrote his reasoning, which made sense. He saw the press as a mouthpiece of capital. Not that I think that's a reason to not have it. Also, he was pro-direct democracy. Cuba was not great, but the issues Barbara says is because she didn't listen. Well, the other part about it is that, you know, the United States of America has utilized some of the most brutal anti-free press measures at times of fucking war, okay? Some of which the U.S. is still trying to utilize, like the Espionage Act, against motherfuckers that they have declared are the enemy of the state currently. What Cuba does is, what Cuba has done with the circumstances that were given to Cuba by the largest, most exploitative superpower, imperialist, global hegemonic superpower, the United States of America, in its fucking backyard, that has basically been in a state of war, okay, against this small fucking island nation, is of course going to cause them to be very repressive in their fucking measures, especially when America has actively tried to assassinate its leadership and routinely undermine their autonomy. That's it. I don't think it's justifiable to deny people their, you know, civil liberties in the form of like free press, free association, freedom of speech. I don't agree with that, but also I understand why they do it.
Any one of those countries, and you can evaluate them in several ways. One, comparing them to what they had before. And that to me is what's very compelling. That's what's so compelling about Cuba, for instance. When I was in Cuba, I was up in the Escambray, which is like the Appalachia of Cuba, very rugged mountains, people very poor they were. And I said to this campesino, I said, do you like Fidel? And he said, sí, with all our souls. I remember his gesture, with all our souls. I said, why? And he pointed to this clinic right up there on the hill, which we had visited. He said, look at that. He said, before the revolution, we never saw a doctor. If someone was seriously ill, it would take 20 people to carry that person, because you'd go day and night. It would take 2 days to get to the hospital. First, because it was far away, and second, because you couldn't go straight. You couldn't cross the latifundio lands. The boss would kill you, so you had to go like this. And often when we got to the hospital, the person might be dead by the time we got there. Now we have this clinic up here with a full-time doctor. And today, a doctor in Cuba, when you become a doctor, you've got to spend 2 years out in the country. That's your dedication to the people. And a dentist who comes 1 day a week. And for more serious things, we're not more than 20 minutes away from a larger hospital. That's in the
That's the worst part about these fucking countries. Nations that deserve autonomy, nations that have actually taken the initiative and gotten some level of autonomy. The worst part about it is that, like, they immediately do the worst thing you can do from the perspective of capitalists, which is give power, or at the very least, improve the material conditions of some of the voiceless motherfuckers, okay? The moment that you improve the literacy rate, the moment that you fucking build clinics in the countryside, especially when you are doing it with the wealth that otherwise those who own capital have, okay, like the big businesses in industries, the moment that you fucking develop it, you're doing an awful thing from the capitalist perspective, because you're giving voice to the voiceless, and those people will never get heard in American media. Those people never get heard in Western media. It's just the truth. They just will never talk about that. I've heard so many motherfuckers that literally say that, like, literacy rates is, like, insignificant, ultimately unimportant. Or so many people that say, yeah, Cuba exports more doctors than any other country per capita, and that's actually just, that's actually just marketing. Other countries shouldn't even cover it in their press because, like, you're giving marketing to a brutal dictatorship. It's just fucking awful. Anyway, regardless, we're talking about a country who has been fucked over by the United States of America in perpetuity since its, like, inception, basically since the revolution. And yet, despite those dire circumstances that we have placed upon them, they've been able to survive and also, to a certain degree, I would say thrive in comparison to other countries that have been excommunicated and cast aside. So, I don't know. I think it's, like, pretty powerful. Yeah. The endurance of Cuba is incredible.
Scumbright. So that's freedom. We're freer today. We have more life. And I talked to a guy in Havana who says to me, before, all I used to see here in Havana, you call this drab and dull. We see it as a cleaner city. It's true, you got the paint is peeling off the walls, but you don't see kids begging in the streets anymore, and you don't see prostitutes. All we used to have was prostitutes. Prostitution used to be one of the biggest industries. And today, this man is going to night school. He said, I can read. I can read. Do you know what it means to be able to read? Do you know what it means to be able not to read?
So if Hitler was a true socialist in the same way as Castro, would you be propping up Hitler's ideas in the same way? Brother, if Adolf Hitler was a true socialist, he wouldn't have been a fucking fascist. He wouldn't have killed socialists. Yeah, if Adolf Hitler was like, genuinely interested in liberating workers instead of just like claiming that they were actually interested in that exclusively for the fucking folk, which was just a marketing tactic for the true fascist idea that he had, then yeah, it would be an entirely different person. He would not be the Adolf Hitler that you know, you fucking idiot. I don't think Adolf Hitler, if he was a true socialist, he wouldn't be Adolf Hitler. It's such a, why did you think that this was a good argument? Like, you made probably one of the worst arguments I've ever fucking seen. Like, did you think that I was just going to see Hitler and go, oh my God, you owned me? Like, is that what you thought was going to happen here? You have to be like 12, right?
I remember when I gave my book to my father, I dedicated a book of mine, Power and the Powerless, to my father. I said, to my father with my love. Gave him a copy of the book. He opened it up, looked at that. He'd only gone to the 7th grade. He was a son of an immigrant, a working class Italian. And he opens the book and he starts looking through it. And he gets misty-eyed, very misty-eyed. And I thought it was because he was so touched that his son had dedicated a book to him. That wasn't the reason. He looks up to me and says, I can't read this, kid. I said, that's okay, Dad. Neither can the students. I mean, that's not something. I mean, don't worry about that. I wrote it for you. I mean, it's your book, and you don't have to read it. You know, it's a very complicated book, academic book. I said, yeah, I can't read.
Can you expand on your point that Cuba is thriving compared to other excommunicated countries? Yes. In comparison to the DPRK, Cuba is thriving, especially when you consider the proximity to the United States or countries that we fucking literally have meddled in the affairs of in general. Even if you look at like Latin America, and now DPRK is not doing all that poorly either. But again, it took a long fucking time and there was so much devastation. Its proximity to the regional superpower or Venezuela. That's a great example. Venezuela is a better example. Look at the situation in Cuba and how Cuba is in comparison to Venezuela. I wouldn't say Cuba is thriving in comparison to Venezuela, in comparison to Haiti, in comparison to other countries where America has successfully involved itself in the affairs. Yes, Cuba is doing much better. Like, Cuba has a higher life expectancy than the United States of America, man. What the fuck are we talking about? They have a fucking vaccine for lung cancer. They developed their own COVID vaccines in spite of the fact that they are undergoing this like insane embargo that is unjustifiable and a human rights abuse. Like, come on. Sure, certainly there's like a lot of poverty in Cuba still, of course. But I personally believe that a lot of that poverty is done deliberately. That poverty is brought upon Cuba deliberately by the United States of America, who does not want to let a country like Cuba exist on the planet, as they have shown time and time again. They don't want Cuba to exist. The Cubans I spoke with when I was there were very proud that they, a tiny island, had managed to hold off American interference in a way that the rest of South America never could. Yeah. Okay, we're done with the Fidel Castro interview. What is this? This is like another Barbara Walters moment, and then I'm going to move on from this.
Recently released a song. It's called Hell Yeah. It's about American Idol. And she says, I'm quick to check a bitch if she is out of line. Are you the bitch she's singing about?
Don't know what she's singing. I didn't know she sang. I thought she rapped or whatever. Yeah.
Nikki recently released a song. It's called Hell Yeah. It's about American Idol. And she says, I'm quick to check a bitch if she is out of line. Are you the bitch she's singing about?
Don't know.
One more Barbara moment.
I'm very uncomfortable asking this question when I'm sitting opposite you. But you are a little overweight.
More than a little.
Yeah.
What the fuck? That's not even a question, Barbara.
Yeah.
Why?
Apparently she was upset. I said why?
I feel very
Apparently she was fucking obsessed with like her figure. And like, what did she do to Brooke Shields? Like, when Brooke Shields was like literally a fucking baby, pretty much, okay? Barbara Walters compared her physique to this child. This is another certified incredible moment. Do you guys remember Donald Sterling? This was so good. This is actually pretty funny. There's a lot of really good ones. I'll admit this is a great one, mostly because of like who she's interviewing, but still.
Can you tell me what your relationship with Donald Sterling is?
Y'all remember Donald Sterling, NBA owner, racist as fuck.
I'm Mr. Sterling's right-hand arm man. I'm Mr. Sterling everything. I'm his confidant, his best friend, his silly rabbit.
His what?
His silly rabbit.
His silly rabbit?
Yes.
Is that what he calls you?
No.
He goes, what? Is that what he called you? No. This was Donald Sterling's girlfriend, who Donald Sterling was like sending fucking messages to, being like, don't fucking bring black people to the court side and like openly show that you're having sex with black men, basically. This was his like little side piece. Man, you guys don't remember anything, huh?
What kind?
You don't know anything. I forget this chat is like so young. Yeah, this was like his that was his right hand arm left man.
What kind of cabinet position might you like if it were possible?
We are speaking totally hypothetical, right? Totally hypothetical.
Right.
Department of Defense.
What? What kind of cabinet position might you like if it were possible?
We are speaking totally hypothetical, right?
Those are funny.
Brooke, what are your measurements?
I'm 5'10" and 120.
I think when people see you, they don't realize how tall and slim you are. Let me stand up with you, because I'm 5'5" and I'm wearing high heels. Okay.
My heels are probably, well, maybe not.
She was 15 here. Don't be fooled by the fucking hair and makeup and shit. This is a 15-year-old girl that Barbara Walters is talking to. Like, imagine how fucked up body, like what kind of body image issues you're going to have at that point.
So stand, because we haven't really seen you standing.
It's like wild to consider because like, yeah, with that like weird hair and like makeup, she looks like everybody looked older back in the day, but she's 15.
Next to someone. No. Very hard.
How the fuck is she 15? Dog, everyone back then looked older because to us, they were wearing like their hair weird. They're wearing weird clothes. Like to us, they look older. We watched the Vsauce video explaining it, you know. A more modern example of this is the new TikTok trend of like moms, right? The MILF TikTok trend where like daughters give their moms their articles of clothing to wear and then all of a sudden they look very different. You've seen it, I'm sure. The clothing that you wear, the makeup that you do, the hair that you do dramatically changes people's perceptions of you.
When you got a little kid this size to keep her down to size, isn't it?
My dad's really tall too.
Your dad is 6'7". Mm-hmm. Would you be a mother like your mother?
I think so. Yes. I mean, I think I've learned from my mom. Yeah.
But what about the people who say she had no childhood? And accuse you. You took away her childhood.
But I'm still going through my childhood, so I can't say that I didn't.
Sitting here like this is going through your childhood?
Well, I'd rather do this than not do it at all.
Stay home and watch TV.
I mean, I enjoy this.
She's like doing the same kind of interviewing technique that she is doing to Donald Trump against a 15-year-old girl. So that's like the problem. She would just Barbara Walter a little too hard in places where no man should Barbara Walter. That's my point. And I think that's why a lot of people understandably are upset or understandably point to this kind of stuff. She Barbara Waltered a little too close to the sun.
And I think that it's an experience that I would not like to miss.
Do you have any secrets?
What's up with this man? Bro, Tom Brady's facing backlash for posting pictures of himself poolside while kissing his teenage son who was sitting in his lap. Bro, why is he like this, bro? Why is he like this, bro? I don't fucking understand, dude. Why? Tom Brady is so weird, dude. What is that? What the fuck is that? Oh my lord, dude. What the fuck? I can't defend my GOAT. What the fuck is this? Ain't no way. Oh, come on. You can't be calling Tom Brady your GOAT and not know that he has a penchant for kissing his children in very weird ways. In much, much weirder ways than this. Bro, one time he was getting a massage from his like PT, and his kid comes in and it gives him a little peck on the lips, and you're like, okay, that's a little odd. What the fuck? And then he fucking turns around and goes, that's not good enough. Give me a better one. Like, he basically was like,
documentary called Tom versus Time. There's a scene showing 5-time Super Bowl winner Tom Brady getting a massage. Then his 11-year-old son comes in the room and asks him if he can check his fantasy football standings.
I was wondering if I could check my fantasy team.
What do I get?
You know, Jack, everything comes at a cost, bud.
That was like a peck.
The second kiss shared by father and son prompted tweets from viewers using words like very disturbing and uncomfortably long. So we asked New Yorkers what they thought.
I mean, of course, if you ask, I mean, this is like a universally weird thing that he does. But like, obviously, if you ask New Yorkers, they're going to be extra fucking grossed out because it's Tom Brady.
A little uncomfortable with that.
I think at a certain age, it's like, okay, you can kiss him on the cheek, you can give him a hug, you know, but not in the mouth and not for that long.
Too long, like romantic long.
He's laying there naked getting a massage, too.
So that makes it weird?
Yeah.
I kiss my son on my lips. I have since day one. You know, I would have no problem with my son kissing me like that.
Lifestyle and parenting expert Liz Stern says she doesn't see anything wrong.
If you kiss your kids too much, it's the wrong thing. If you kiss your kids too little, it's the wrong thing. If you hug too much, it's the wrong thing. Or, you know, I think people need to back off and just stop parent shaming.
Of the people we spoke to, no one questioned Tom Brady's intentions toward his child, but they did seem to question the message he's sending with his actions.
I don't think affection should ever be tied in with a favor.
Carolyn Meyer-Wartels is a licensed clinical social worker and parenting expert.
Bro, he literally said, give me a little bit of tongue, okay? I'm sorry, that's fucking weird. That's weird. There's a line and he crossed it. And by the way, it doesn't end there, bro. It does not fucking end there. Now, obviously, Tom Brady, you know, we're going to be giving Boston the fucking works right now. I'm just saying it. Trigger warning. If you're from Boston, you're about to get the fucking works, okay? Bill Belichick also tongue kisses his fucking children. What the fuck is going on, dude? I mean, what the fuck? What the absolute fuck, bro? And she's like not even young. Like, she's like a whole ass adult, dog. What is happening? Like, is this what it takes to win? Like, Will and I have had a joke about this for many years at this point. It's like white people get all their power from kissing their children in the lips. And like, this is actually, there is no way this is real. Oh God, oh God. Yo, that's fake. Oh God. Oh, I'm sorry that you saw that. Fake, photoshopped, and easily fact checked. No, the Bill Belichick kissing thing is real. The tongue kissing is not.